Welcome back to the studio. Well, we're still talking about diabetes somewhat, so we would be concentrating on the daily requirement of sugar and salt, and we also get the discussion to sugar sweetened beverages and how it causes changes in the glucose metabolism. I'm trying really hard to be very medical this morning, so forgive me if I'm not getting the terms right. In the studio to discuss vascular health really is the program lead of Cardiovascular Health Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa. Thank you so much for being part of the program. We are talking around our health today. That's what we're concentrating on. So welcome to the studio. So daily requirement of sugar and salt.
Okay, so according to the World Health Organization, we have recommended daily limits for salt consumption. And for salt, it's actually, we're not expected to take more than 5 grams of salt per day,
right,
which equals 2 grams of sodium per day, because sodium is actually a constituent of salt, right? So if we go beyond the daily recommended limit, it triggers our blood pressure. Excessive salt intake causes high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is linked to several other communicable diseases, because when you have a lot of sodium in the blood pressure goes up. When it goes up, our blood vessels thicken up to be able to manage the pressure. And in the process, the passage of blood becomes limited,
right,
which means that we do not get enough blood supply across other organs. So you see that hypertension is linked to heart attack when the blood is not getting, when the heart is not getting enough blood and nutrients, right? It's been linked to kidney failure.
That's
Research
true.
has gone further to link hypertension to complications that come from diabetes. So it's very important that we manage our daily salt intake. We're not expected to consume more than 5 grams.
5 grams.
So we're expected to consume less than that.
A cup of tea in the morning alone often is more than 5 grams. So how do you do it? And I'd like you to just address the kind of meals that are prevalent in Nigeria. Would you say is one that helps this recommended dosage? Okay,
so 5 grams of salt is, you know, the small teaspoon that we use in stirring our tea.
Right.
Not up to that. You don't feel that teaspoon to get 5 grams. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, when we cook, we add more than that teaspoon. So in one meal, you are already consuming more than what is required in a day. And the foods, the major sources of sodium in our diets include salt, which we use every day. In fact, it's an integral part of human existence, because of its cultural significance, spiritual significance. It's the role that it plays in food preparation, preservation, and processing. It also has industrial significance. Right? So it actually does. We're not supposed to expected to surpass a teaspoon of salt per day.
We should not surpass a teaspoon
of salt per day. And the main sources of
to absorb it, at least first of all, I have to absorb it so that I can be good through.
And the main sources of sodium in our diet are salt, bouillon cubes, which seasoning cubes, you know, that we have been made to believe that if we do not add seasoning to our food,
it will not be as nice.
Exactly, you know. And in fact, research has shown, both from local data, there's a local research by the Cardiovascular Research Unit in the University of Abuja, where it was actually stated that over 70% of the salt that we consume are from processed and packaged foods, street foods, restaurant foods. That's foods that we eat out of home. Because a lot of these foods contain a lot of seasonings, you know. Of course, even the shrimps that you buy in supermarkets are preserved with a lot of salt. And naturally, every unprocessed food that we consume already contains sodium. Permit me to use salt and sodium interchangeably. We're talking about
permission granted. We're talking about the same thing.
Exactly.
I mean, at this point, we get it.
Yes. So naturally, all unprocessed foods contains trace amount of sodium, and the body needs just very minute quantities of sodium to function optimally. So we're not expected to add more. That's in form of added salt, added bouillon, and all of that. We can actually, lean towards natural spices. If you observe in some other countries outside the world, they do not cook with bouillon. They use natural spices like turmeric. And that's why
sometimes on social media you hear Nigerians say, "Oh, where is the bouillon? What's the seasoning in this?"
But it's healthier.
Right.
It's healthier. The natural spices are healthier. They have nutritional qualities. They also have some therapeutic qualities that are good for our bodies.
Can you share options? I mean, these natural options.
Natural spices, you have some onions, some black peppers, turmeric, coriander, a lot. We have a lot. Ginger, garlic. We're blessed with a lot of natural spices.
Doesn't have that sodium that gives it the oomph in meals, though. But you're right. We should start.
It actually, I think the reason why people add a lot of bouillon and salt to their food is to take care of the blandness. You don't want your food to taste bland. And then we have natural spices that take care of blandness. Adding some garlic, some ginger to your food can take care of that bland taste. Actually, it's just a mental thing. Our culture, as well as misleading marketing information, because our food environment has been digitalized. On social media, on the TV, we're seeing a lot of marketing information that is false. And this marketing information, they get to make us believe that bouillon cubes are safe for consumption. It's nutritious. I think there's a recent one now that even says that monosodium glutamate is a healthy replacement to salt. So you see a lot of...
You're not speaking English to me. While I'm monosodium glutamate to nod like I know what you're saying. Can you break it down a bit?
Okay, so monosodium glutamate is the white form of seasoning.
Oh yeah,
what they call the white. Locally, they call the white Maggi. Something like that. Yeah. So.
That's what it's called.
Yes.
I see.
So the actual name is monosodium glutamate. It also contains sodium because sodium is the enemy here. That's what.
But you have stumbled on that article. I stumbled on it. It went viral some time ago.
Yes.
And some influencer,
medical
influencer, made it popular more to say it's better than salt.
Absolutely.
It's better than everything.
Yes. So what happens with industries is they bring in social media influencers who are not thematic area experts to spread false and unverified health and nutrition claims, which the public, would end up taking and running with, and then they're consuming things that are unhealthy, believing that it's actually nutritious.
Now let's talk this salt. I mean, when we also read that it prevents certain diseases as well, that the proper quantity of salt prevent. Is this also a myth as well, or does this 5 grams you recommend fit into this? That 5 grams is enough for your body to prevent certain diseases? I'm not sure at the moment what those diseases are.
Okay, so as to salt preventing diseases, I think that's actually a myth. However, salt actually contains a nutrient called sodium. And sodium is actually an essential nutrient which our body requires in very minute quantities to function optimally. Right? So what sodium does, it helps us to maintain the water balance in our body. It helps us to maintain our blood pressure. It even performs a very vital function in maintaining our nervous impulses in the nervous system. So it's essential. However, too much of everything can be bad enough.
Right.
So what we're saying here is, as important as sodium is, do not consume beyond the recommended daily limit.
Right.
Else, something that is actually supposed to function as a nutrient, if consumed correctly, can actually cause a non-communicable disease, which is hypertension or cardiovascular disease.
Okay, so before I let you go, what's the daily consumption for sugar?
Well,
recommended daily consumption.
Okay, for sugar, the recommended daily consumption, I may not be so sure. However, I think we're not expected to consume up to 10 grams of sugar in a day. Right. So even presently, like Kappa actually now naturally in the natural foods that we consume, natural foods, unprocessed foods contain glucose, contain some form of natural sugars. So we're not expected to consume added industrial sugar, right? And I think that's Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa also has a campaign that advocates for an increase in on the tax on sugar sweetened beverages, right? Because when you take this sugar sweetened beverages, what happens is there's a spike in your blood sugar, and over time, you know, when you consume a lot of these sugar sweetened beverages, and this, you know, sudden spikes in blood sugar happens over time, you know, your insulin, you become insulin resistant, like
over time.
Exactly, over time.
And that's where the diabetes comes in.
And that's where diabetes comes in.
Wow.
Yeah. So increasing the tax on sugar sweetened beverages would reduce consumption.
How has that been going? I mean, 2 years ago, we still had this conversation trying to increase the tax on sugar sweetened beverages, and to also have, I think it was connected to advertisement to ensure that it is also written in juice boxes and other products that have these sugar sweetened beverages, the right amount that is used. I'm not having this conversation, but we're still here 2 years after talking about how the government should be more intentional about increasing taxes on sugar sweetened beverages. I would like to ask you, who has this project at hand, how is it going? How's the reception for policymakers?
Yeah, well, it's actually going well. At the moment, there's a 10 naira per liter tax on sugar sweetened beverages. However, I think that was implemented 2 years ago. However, at the moment, there's been a whole lot of inflation in the country, so and 10 naira has become highly insignificant. So Kappa has actually conducted a simulation study advocating for an increase,
a review of that, right?
A review of that, yeah, to 130 naira per liter, such that, you know, when these drinks are cheap, you can conveniently consume 4 to 5 bottles a day, which is harmful to health, and raises the burden of diabetes in the country. However, with these taxes, it raises the price on the consumer, and someone who consumes 5 bottles will have to reduce to maybe 2 or 1, and that's actually good enough for our health. And it's actually a win-win, because the funds, you know, the funds that will be generated from the sugar sweetened beverage tax will be earmarked to managing non-communicable diseases in the country. So it's a win-win. Exactly. It's keeping the people healthy and also financing health care.
Thank you so much, Bukola OLUKEMODELE. Thank you, Program Lead of the Cardiovascular Health, Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, Kappa. Thank you so much for giving us your time to explain this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for still staying with us.